Welcome, Top News Today. Please subscribe and support this channel.
For the most part, Donald Trump's children have had nary a negative thing to say about what it's like having Donald Trump for a father. Sure, he was always working, but when you called him at the office he just patched you into his meeting. Sure, he spent a lot of spare time golfing, but then you just learned how to golf too. You never wanted for anything, but at the same time, you inherited a fierce work ethic. And at the end of the yellow brick road, after Wharton or Georgetown, there was a job waiting for you at the Trump Organization. It's definitely not always easy, Donald Trump Jr. said during a sit-down with his dad and sister Ivanka Trump for Forbes magazine in 2006, when the kids were just getting involved with The Apprentice and Trump asked his son if it was easy or difficult having a famous father. There's definitely advantages to it. We've got to be spoiled, hopefully in all the right ways, getting great educations, getting to travel the world, but I think you've done an amazing job, and Mom's done an amazing job, really getting us to work for everything we ever really wanted in our lives, and I think that's why we're successful at what we do today. It's tough because you're tough, but in a good way, added Ivanka with a $1 million smile. 12 years ago that was all viewed through a promotional, pop culture lens, no follow-up questions needed. But the son who shares a name with the real estate tycoon and reality TV star turned president of the United States remains a walking example of just how not always easy it could be growing up Trump. Don Jr., whose wife Vanessa Trump filed for divorce last week after 12 years of marriage, was 12 years old when his own parents divorced in legendarily acrimonious fashion. Czech model and Olympic skier Ivana Trump had married Donald Trump on April 7, 1977, and their eldest son was born that New Year's Eve. They'd go on to have two more children together, Ivanka and Eric Trump, and become the toast of New York society in the 1980s. The Trump name became synonymous with over-the-top luxury, buoyed by the Donald's affinity for gold, his bravado and his boundless enthusiasm for self-promotion. Together Donald and Ivana were the power couple, the real-life Carringtons of the commercial real estate scene. In his 1987 book The Art of the Deal, Trump said, via ghostwriter Tony Schwartz, "I adore my kids, but I've never been great at playing with toy trucks and dolls. I tell Donnie I'll be home as soon as I can, but he insists on a time. Perhaps he's got my genes, the kid won't take no for an answer." In 1990, Ivana was overseeing the renovation of the Plaza Hotel, which Trump had bought for $400 million. Noting that they were restoring the hotel to its original luxurious glory, not adding glitz that would be more suitable for an Atlantic City casino, Trump told Playboy that year, "So I don't use glitz in all cases. And in my residential buildings I sometimes use flash, which is a level below glitz." Asked what all of the real estate and toys he had amassed meant to him, he quipped, "Props for the show." Pressed to explain, he said, "The show is Trump and it is sold-out performances everywhere. I've had fun doing it and will continue to have fun, and I think most people enjoy it." Incidentally, when the subject of running for president came up, he twice said he didn't want the presidency, but expanding on the subject of politics he added, "Well, if I ever ran for office, I'd do better as a Democrat than as a Republican, and that's not because I'd be more liberal, because I'm conservative. But the working guy would elect me. He likes me. When I walk down the street, those cabbies start yelling out their windows." Trump told interviewer Glenn Plaskin that his marriage was just fine. "Ivana is a very kind and good woman. I also think she has the instincts and drive of a good manager. She's focused and she's a perfectionist." Asked about her as a wife, versus as a manager, Trump replied, "I never comment on romance. She's a great mother, a good woman who does a good job." Asked what marriage meant to him, whether it specifically meant monogamy, he said, "I don't have to answer that. I never speak about my wife, which is one of the advantages of not being a politician. My marriage is and should be a personal thing." Trump continued, "I think any man enjoys flirtations, and if he said he didn't, he'd be lying or he'd be a politician trying to get the extra 4 votes. I think everybody likes knowing he's well responded to." especially as you get into certain strata where there is an ego involved and a high level of success. It's important. People really like the idea that other people respond well to them. That interview appeared in the March 1990 issue of Playboy, so it was conducted, reportedly over the course of 16 weeks, some months beforehand. Because by February 1990, the Trumps' marriage had imploded. Their separation was announced February 11. According to the Chicago Tribune, it all came to a head when the Trumps went to Aspen in December 1989 for their holiday ski vacation and Donald split his time between his wife and 26-year-old model Marla Maples, and then the three of them all ended up at the same party and none of them left. Witnesses also said that Ivana had words with Maples at the most popular restaurant in town and proceeded to have an argument with her husband at the edge of the slopes in front of a growing crowd of intrigued onlookers. At the time, funny enough, op-ed writers and society columnists welcomed the juicy respite from all the heated political news of the day. He likes Ivana very much, but it just wasn't working out, a Trump spokesman told the New York Times a few days after the separation announcement in February 1990. So for the good of all, he decided to leave. Also per the Times, the Trumps had a prenuptial agreement that his legal team said had been amended several times over the years, with the most recent deal stipulating that Ivana would get $20 million, their 47-room country estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, and custody of the kids. Trump's reported estimated net worth at the time was between $1.5 billion and $4 billion. Ivana's lawyer called the prenup unconscionable and fraudulent, while a PR spokesman for Trump called it 100% enforceable in a court of law. At one point, Ivana, who was vice president of the Trump Organization and president of the Plaza Hotel, was briefly barred from entering the Plaza until her lawyers negotiated and won her admittance, her rep told the Times, calling the whole situation quite unseemly. Trump had also reportedly denied being more than friends with Maples, whom he'd go on to marry in 1993, or Catherine Oxenberg, another woman he was rumored to have romanced. Ivana then made headlines by lunching with Trump's mother and sister on Valentine's Day at a celebrity-friendly NYC hotspot. According to The Washington Post, she countered the prenup with a demand for $150 million, the Plaza Hotel, and a private jet, as well as custody of Don Jr., Ivanka and Eric. The final dissolution of their assets had yet to be decided, but the Trumps' divorce was granted on December 11, 1990, on the grounds of cruel and inhuman treatment on Donald's part, The New York Times reported. "I wish Ivana the best," Trump said at the time. "I have no doubt that she will do very well in the years to come." Ivana reportedly agreed to not publicly discuss the particulars of the marriage, though she had automatically become one of the world's most famous divorcees. Trump attorney Jay Goldberg told the Times that the cruelty cited by the judge was Ivana having to see her future ex-husband Squire Maples around in recent months. "That's the cruelty, that it caused Mrs. Trump to have anxiety and sleeplessness," Goldberg said. The claim was that media attention to the relationship supposedly between himself and Miss Maples in 1990, that's important, 1990, caused Mrs. Trump to endure pain and suffering that amounts to cruel and inhuman treatment. Meanwhile, Don Jr. was old enough to be aware that the breakdown of his parents' marriage had become a tabloid sensation. Eric later remembered that the divorce brought him and his siblings closer together, telling New York that his older brother kept tabs on everything that my grandfather taught him over the years and that I was too young to appreciate. And I'm definitely closer to Ivanka because of it. She took me under her wing and raised me, took me shopping, tried to make me cool. And Ivanka even said that she felt the divorce brought them closer to their father. But Don Jr. was barely 12 when rumors of his dad's infidelity started taking up newspaper real estate and, siding with his mom in the war of words, fueled by what Ivana told New York Daily News columnist Liz Smith and what Donald was telling Cindy Adams of the rival New York Post, he didn't speak to his father for a year. He was also very close to his maternal grandfather, Milo Zelnicek, who along with wife Maria lived half the year at Trump Tower. Don Jr. and Eric also made regular summer trips to the Czech Republic, then Czechoslovakia, to spend time hunting and fishing at the family's home outside of Prague, and Milos died while his daughter was going through divorce proceedings. Listen, it's tough to be a 12-year-old, Don Jr. told New York Magazine in 2004. You're not quite a man, but you think you are. You think you know everything. Being driven into school every day and you see the front page and it's divorce. The best sex I ever had. And you don't even know what that means. At that age, kids are naturally cruel. Your private life becomes very public, and I didn't have anything to do with it, my parents did.
Please subscribe channel. Thank you for watching.